something pretty interesting, something you might not expect.
Oh, what's that?
It's the connection between bond cleaning and your finances.
Really? I would have thought those two were connected.
I know, right? But it turns out it can have a huge impact on your credit score and even your ability to rent in the future.
Wow. Okay. I'm intrigued.
Yeah. We've been digging into a bunch of articles and expert insights, especially from Jamarion Robbins. He owns a bond cleaning company. And let me tell you, this stuff gets pretty serious.
So it's more than just like, making sure the place is tidy.
Way more. We're talking like a deep clean. Jamarion breaks down what landlords are looking for, and it's intense.
Like what? Give me an example.
Think scrubbing floors, windows, sanitizing bathrooms, even getting those pesky cobwebs, the whole 9 yards, basically.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, and it's not even just about surface level cleaning. Landlords often expect the place to be better than when you moved in.
Seriously? Better than when you moved in?
Yep. And the reason this is so important is because if the landlord isn't satisfied with the bond clean, they can deduct the cleaning costs from your security deposit.
Makes sense. I guess that's fair enough.
Yeah, and if your bond doesn't even cover it, they might even come after you for more fees.
Oh, so it's not just losing some of your deposit.
Nope, it can get way worse.
Yeah.
Jamarion says he's actually seen people end up with debt collectors knocking because of this.
Really? Debt collectors?
Yeah, it can turn into a total nightmare.
That's wild. So how does it even get to that point?
Well, those extra cleaning fees, if you can't pay them, they can end up in the hands of debt collectors, and then boom, your credit score takes a major hit.
Ouch. Yeah, that makes sense.
Think of it like a domino effect. Bad cleaning leads to extra costs. You can't pay them. Debt collectors get involved. Credit score goes down.
It's scary how one thing can spiral like that.
It really is. So it's not just about getting your deposit back. It's about protecting your whole financial future.
Totally. A messed up credit score can make it so much harder to get loans, credit cards.
And even future rentals.
Oh, right. Landlords check those, don't they?
Yep. A bad credit score is a huge red flag for a lot of landlords. Makes it much harder to find a place to rent.
That's rough. I mean, most people aren't professional cleaners, right? So what can you actually do to avoid this whole mess?
That's what I was wondering. What does Jamarion recommend?
Well, he really emphasizes being super thorough with the cleaning and documenting everything.
Documenting. Like what?
Take photos of the property before you move out, especially if there's already any damage or just areas you've cleaned really well.
Why the photos?
That way, if there are any disagreements, you have proof. Say your landlord claims you didn't clean something properly and tries to deduct money, you can pull out your photos and be like, nope, see? Look how clean it was.
That's smart. Like evidence. I never thought of that.
It's also super important to keep your landlord in the loop the whole time.
Communicate, you mean?
Yeah. If anything comes up, any issues, just talk to him about it.
So basically clear communication, photo evidence. Got it. But what if things still go wrong? Like you and your landlord just can't agree on how well you cleaned.
Good question. That's when things can get a bit more complicated. But before we get into that, I think we should step back and talk about something else that's crucial. Tenant rights.
Tenant rights. Okay, I'm listening. What are some key things people should know, especially when it comes to this bond cleaning situation?
Well, for starters, you have the right to be there when they do the final inspection.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Don't let the landlord rush you through it.
Uh-huh.
Take your time, look at everything, and if you disagree with something, speak up.
Makes sense. It's like having a chance to defend your cleaning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is where those photos we were talking about come in handy.
Right, the proof.
Yeah, like say the landlord claims you didn't clean something properly, you can whip out those photos like, I totally did.
That's so smart. I'm definitely taking photos from now on.
It's like a secret weapon. Let's say there was a stain on the carpet when you moved in, and they were trying to take money for it. Boom, photo for move-in day. See? Not my fault.
Okay, that makes total sense. But what if, even with photos, you still can't agree with the landlord? What then?
Well, that's when you might have to get a third party involved. Something like a tenancy tribunal.
A tenancy tribunal? That sounds kind of scary.
It's not as bad as it sounds, I promise.
Okay, but what is it exactly?
Basically, it's like a neutral body that steps in and helps settle disputes between landlords and tenants.
So they listen to both sides and decide what's fair.
Pretty much. They look at all the evidence and make a decision based on the law and what your lease agreement says. Think of it like a referee for all your renting problems.
Okay, that makes me feel a bit better. So if talking to the landlord doesn't work, you go to this tribunal and they help figure things out fairly.
Exactly. And most of the time, you don't even need a lawyer. It's meant to be pretty straightforward.
That's good to know.
Of course, if it's a really complicated situation or a lot of money's involved, then yeah, maybe get some legal advice, just in case.
Makes sense.
Oh, and don't forget, there are a bunch of tenant rights organizations out there that can give you free advice, too.
Free advice, always a good thing.
Definitely.
It's crazy how something as simple as cleaning can turn into all this, with tribunals and everything.
Yeah, it just goes to show how important it is to know your rights and be proactive.
Yeah.
Like they say, knowledge is power, especially when it comes to renting.
So true. Okay, so far we've talked about cleaning thoroughly, taking photos, talking to your landlord, knowing your rights, and even these tenancy tribunals. Phew, it's a lot. But before we finish up this part of our deep dive, I have one more question.
Shoot.
Okay, we've talked a lot about meeting the landlord's expectations, but shouldn't there be some guidelines about what's actually reasonable for bond cleaning? Where's the line between normal wear and tear and, actual damage they can deduct money for?
That's a really good question. And to be honest, it's kind of a gray area. What's reasonable wear and tear can change depending on the age of the place, how long you've lived there, even the weather.
Oh, wow, really? I didn't think about that.
Yeah, there are general guidelines, of course, but there's no, magic checklist.
So how do you know? What's the difference between wear and tear and damage?
Well, think of wear and tear as the normal stuff that happens over time when you're living in a place. Paint fading a bit, carpets getting a little worn, maybe a door handle getting loose.
So just from living there?
Exactly. That's considered totally normal. Damage, though, that's different. That's something that's gone beyond normal wear and tear, usually because someone wasn't careful or didn't take care of things properly.
So give me an example. What counts as damage?
Think like stains on the carpet, holes in the walls, appliances that are broken, stuff like that.
So it's about being able to tell the difference between what's a natural part of living in a place versus something that happened because someone messed up.
Yeah, pretty much. But like I said, there's that gray area in between. Sometimes it's hard to tell. Like a little scuff mark on the wall, probably wear and tear. But a big hole punched in the wall, that's definitely damage.
Okay, so how do you protect yourself? How can you be sure you're not getting charged for something that isn't your fault?
Documentation, remember. That's your best friend. When you first move in, take pictures of everything, every little detail, and write down anything that's already damaged or worn out.
And send those to the landlord, too, that you were saying before.
Exactly. Email them, keep a copy for yourself. That way, if they try to say you did something you didn't, you've got proof.
Smart. Okay, so what else besides photos?
Be proactive. If you see something's wrong, like a leaky faucet or a door that's not closing right, tell your landlord straight away and get it fixed.
So they can't say you caused it later.
Exactly. It shows you're taking care of the place and you're on top of things. And finally, don't be afraid to push back if you think your landlord's trying to take money from your bond unfairly.
Yeah, you have rights.
That's right. You don't have to just roll over. If you can't work it out with them directly, remember there's always the tenancy tribunal or those tenant rights groups we talked about.
This whole conversation has been a real eye-opener, seriously. I had no idea how complicated this bond cleaning stuff could be.
Yeah, it's more than just cleaning, isn't it? It's about understanding your rights, your finances, the whole rental system.
Totally. But at least now I feel way more prepared to deal with it,
Good. Knowledge is power, right? The more you know, the better you can protect yourself.
Exactly. And hey, maybe some of our listeners will even be inspired to fight for clearer rules about bond cleaning. Wouldn't that be great? So everyone knows what's expected from the start.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Fairer for everyone involved.
So there you have it, folks. Bond cleaning. It's about more than just making the place sparkle. It's about understanding your rights, protecting your finances, and even maybe making the whole system a bit fairer. Thanks for tuning in to our deep dive